Our international climate correspondent, Susan Ormiston, is on a Navy ship that has taken scientists to the southern polar region to examine climate change. It is an epic, all-Canadian adventure and the first of its kind. And today, the trip takes in some ceremony and diplomacy. Susan joins us live from Admiralty Bay in Antarctica to tell us more. Susan, I'm looking at the scene behind you. Oh my goodness, what a sight.
It's a stunning day. Flat, calm seas, brilliant sunshine, clear blue sky. And today was the day that HMCS Margaret Brooke took part in pass-by, if you will, with a Brazilian Navy research vessel. It's just over there now. You can see it, red and white ship against the backdrop of that mountain and the glaciers in the back there. This is a relatively regular occurrence when two countries are near each other in naval exercises, but really it underscores a new collaboration, a defense collaboration between Canada and Brazil, and also underscores what's going on here. Interestingly, no military exercises are to be done in Antarctic waters unless they are supporting science on scientific missions. It's part of an international treaty, and that's what HMCS Brooke is doing. And so this is really part of the exercise as these two ships passed by, saluted each other in this bay. The Brazilian station is not far from where we're staying. That's a research, where we're sailing, that's a research station. And that's where some of the people on board this ship went yesterday, Andrew.
And tell us about the collaboration between countries on this expedition so far.
Well, on Sunday, it was quite an epic scene. We had a delegation, if you will, from the Canadian Navy and the science team on board HMCS Margaret Brooke. They disembarked the ship here and took fast boats to the shoreline. For many of them, including myself, the first time I'd ever stepped on land in Antarctica. They were greeted on that shore, I'm sure you'll see in our visuals here, by Antarctica's most famous ambassadors, pruning penguins, seemingly a little nonplussed by this delegation reaching their shores. We're more than 16,000 kilometers away from Canada, and this was part of the science diplomacy. The commanding officer of the Margaret Brooke and the chief scientists were going to the shore on King George Island to trek up the hill to Brazil's research station. That's how power works here in Antarctica, through research stations. There are more than 80 of them operated by about 40 countries, and they were there at the Brazilian station at the invitation of Brazil. This has been started 2 years ago to talk about science, to talk about the collaboration on polar science. Canada is an expert on polar regions up in the Arctic, and the scientists here are coming to learn from what other countries are learning here in Antarctica and to compare knowledge between these two poles. So this voyage here has a lot of different motivations, but certainly the science piece is what's happening right now. And I can tell you that I'm seeing still, just coming in here, is a small boat with scientists on it that's been out most of the day collecting samples from the water and the air to try to discover some of the clues about climate change and measure what are the changes here in the southern seas, Andrew.
And Susan, as I was saying, I mean, I can't quite get over how beautiful that backdrop is for this expedition, but I do understand that the scientists you're traveling with have their concerns. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's really, for them, you know, you look at where they're working and it's stunningly beautiful, but it's been preserved this way by that international Antarctic treaty, preserved for science and collaborative research. That's what governs this place. But there are many people, including the scientists here, who are worried about whether that treaty can hold with geopolitical tensions with Russia and China and other countries, making it harder and harder, we're told, to forge a consensus in those treaty negotiations. The scientists are also worried about what will happen in places like Antarctica, because we know that a few years ago we hit record temperatures not too far from here off the Antarctic Peninsula. We're seeing evidence of record warming in the seas here as well as the Arctic. The two poles are warming faster than other parts of the world. So this is what they're testing in this magnificent landscape. They're trying to figure out what changes are happening, how fast they're happening, and what we can do to reverse them. So that's the major motivation for all the science that's going on here over the next 2 weeks. And we will be bringing you some of those stories, exactly what they're testing, what they're seeing in this area, Andrew.
Susan, thank you. CBC's international climate correspondent, Susan Ormiston, live in Admiralty Bay, Antarctica.